guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review. This movie is a horror film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2015, directed by R.D. Brownstein, and this film is called I Spin You a Grave 3. So I Spin You a Grave 3 is a direct continuation of the first movie in the remake franchise. You've got Sarah Butler's character who has exacted her revenge upon the people that raped her, and now she is going to rape counselling groups. So these groups, everyone talks about their experiences, but Sarah Butler's character feels like it's not really working. She's becoming very frustrated because the law system continues to fail everybody in this group, and she's harbouring a lot of anguish and is threatening to boil over. So she's seeing a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist says just keep going to these groups, but she's just becoming increasingly unstable. So she meets up with another person in this group, and it turns out that she's equally as frustrated with everything that's going on. So the both of them team up, and they're going to exact a little bit of their own sense of justice for these people that are going unpunished. So they do horrible things, they scare these people straight, and it all appears to be going well. Sarah Butler's character is feeling a little bit better, but then one day her friend goes missing, and actually turns out she's been raped and murdered. So this sends her over the edge, and now she is going to stalk every single rapist that is connected to this group, and she is going to pick them off one by one in the most horrible ways imaginable, and she is going to try and correct a wrong. So whether or not she can do that, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on I Spin You a Grave 3. I'm a very big fan of this franchise. I really like the first remake, and I really like the second film. I actually thought the second film was better, and the beauty of I Spin You a Grave films are that there's a lot of grey area. You've got the victim, the innocent victim, turning into a savage sort of killer, and you feel to yourself, okay, they exacted the revenge that the law system couldn't actually do. So there's an own sense of justice, an own sense of vigilantism, and you feel to yourself, okay, they got what they wanted, they got what they deserved. But then at the same time you think to yourself, can you fight violence with violence? Does it make it right? Do two wrongs make it right? And so it does it does raise a lot of questions about morals and what's right and what's wrong, and if the justice system do a better job, then these situations would never have happened. So there is a lot of talking point to these movies, but at the same time you can enjoy yourself by extreme depictions of violence. And ultimately this is what they're known for, is that the savage acts of violence, the rape scenes and stuff that's very unforgiving, and showing you rape and murder for what it is. And so you've got on one level entertainment, but on another level a discussion point. And that's why I like these films, is that it's very different from a lot of extreme films out there for just splashing violence for the sake of violence. It actually felt like this movie had a little bit more, this sort of franchise had a little bit more to it. So coming into I Spin You a Grave 3, it is reminiscent of the first two films. It does take a very different approach. It's not so much about one person getting raped and then exacting revenge. This is a movie that does carry on the frustration against an incompetent law system, but I thought this movie was a much more hollow feeling. It actually didn't feel like it had any depth. It actually felt like it was very black and white, us versus them. Now it is a movie about female empowerment, as is the case with the whole I Spin You a Grave name. Originally this film, the actual original, was called Day of the Woman, and so it is a movie about female empowerment. It is a movie about how some female rape victims will actually view the male population, and I think the movie, it does get caught in exaggeration. Now every single male character in this film is absolutely despicable, and I thought that symbolised what this rape victim, the main character, was thinking, is that she lost trust in men, she lost trust in the different sex, and that is a bad thing, because she was basically shunning people who were decent human beings. But I thought it was exaggerated to the point where it actually felt like, every single male in this film was despicable, and that she wasn't just being paranoid, she wasn't just being defensive, it actually felt like she was onto something. So the movie was an exercise in pure hatred towards men, and so I think it does get lost a little bit in the exaggeration, where it takes it out of the realms of reality, and you feel to yourself that it is a little bit irritating, because it's just hitting you over the head time and time again. Men are bad, women are the victim. And if you're trying to have a female empowerment film, if you're just belittling sort of women and just showing them as victims time and time again, you lose that sense of female empowerment. And yes, this main character does do some horrible things to men, but if you exaggerate the point where men are dominant, females are the weaker, you start to think to yourself, okay, we get the message, you have forced it, you've hit it. You've hit that message across our heads time and time again. Okay, we get the point. Can you please just relax a little bit and have the mood of the first two films? The first two films were about, as I said, female empowerment, but it wasn't hitting you over the head every single second to get the point across. And that's exactly what I Spin You a Grave 3 does, and that's why it became very irritating for me. And that's why I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as the first two, because there is no grey area. It's basically black and white, good versus bad, nothing else. You don't question the violence, because once again, the victims of this main character who's turned into this serial killer type of woman, the victims have absolutely no shred of humanity in them. So you think to yourself, okay, just slaughter each and every one of them because they are painted as 100% evil and nothing else. So at least in the first two films, when they were doing horrible things to them, you thought to yourself, okay, maybe you've got them enough. But in this movie, you just feel like, I don't care about them. I just want to see them die in the most horrible way imaginable. Now, there are some very shocking scenes of violence, and it's going to upset a lot of people. But for me, I just thought the violence didn't have the impact that the first two films had, because it really didn't go into characters too much. It was just exaggerating. You know, these male characters were caricatures after one thing and one thing only, and that to me as a male is a little bit insulting, and I really didn't like the way that this film looked. You know, the serial killer approach I thought was very lazy. It wasn't asking any questions psychologically, and it was basically a standalone film. Now, I appreciate the fact that they were trying something a little bit different, but it felt like this movie was an exercise in hatred against men, and that was basically all it was to it. And Sarah Butler's character, no relatability in her. It actually felt like she was just this psychotic killing machine, and she just loses everything that the first film had. Now, I can appreciate that she had been through so much hell and torture that she was just completely devoid of emotion and compassion, but at least have a little bit of decency inside the person who was supposed to be the hero of the film, or the anti-hero, I guess you could call her. So it does have a very dreary cinematography, but as I said, it felt like a very hollow experience. It didn't really feel like an I Spoon You a Grave film. So if you are a fan of the first two movies, I would be careful going into this one. It was just exaggerated far too much, and in the end what you get is just a movie that irritates you more than entertains you. So that was very, very disappointing, and as a result of that, I'm only going to give I Spoon You a Grave 3 1.5 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.